MLB and the MLBPA have agreed to institute a universal DH. It's now official, or as official as it can get until they sign off on the new CBA, but it's happening. So in this video, we're going to take a look at every team in the National League that could be using a designated hitter in 2022. In some cases, the player's already on the team. In others, they'll need to sign somebody. Or in a couple of cases, the DH will give them the opportunity to move some players around, move somebody out of a position in the field and move them to DH and then upgrade that position on the field. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like. Hit the like to show your support for the channel. Repeat viewers will notice something different today. So I hope you are enjoying that. Make sure, again, hit that like and make sure to subscribe. Stay close to the channel. If you haven't already, I want you to subscribe so you can find your way back. You won't want to miss any of the upcoming content. When this lockout is over, this is a place you're going to want to come back to time and time again. So make sure to subscribe. Let's get into it. We are going to start in the National League East, and we are going to go first, take a look at the New York Mets. We take a look at the team. We see they've got a lot. There's moves that they're going to make, certainly, right? You need to figure out something. You got Dom Smith, J.D. Davis, Robinson Cano. You got McNeil maybe getting traded. There's obviously some things that could change here. But again, we're talking about today's roster and looking at who could be the DH. Again, I think it's down to Smith, Davis, or Cano. And if I had my choice, I would go Cano. I would go Dom Smith. One of those two. Now, will Dom Smith still be on the team? Will Jeff McNeil still be on the team? Those are two major question marks. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one of these two. One of them will still be on the team. It's more likely to be Robinson Cano because of his salary. Let's move on to the Atlanta Braves. Next up for the Braves, you could see Marcell Ozuna. You could see the Braves maybe go out and sign Jorge Soler. Maybe they make some other moves. But the Braves with the DH have some flexibility, can do some things. So what do I think they're ultimately going to do? Give me Jorge Soler back to the Atlanta Braves. I think he will end up being the DH back in Atlanta. He caught fire when they traded for him at the trade deadline. So run that back. Keep that going. Bring him back. He is my prediction for DH for the Braves. Let's get to the Washington Nationals. Different situation here with Washington. They could be trading players away. By the time we actually get to opening day, Josh Bell could be gone. Robles could be gone. But at the same time, they could both still be there. So it makes it a little trickier to figure out the DH situation. Right now, you could see Stevenson. You could see Thomas. Which way do they go? In my opinion, I think they bring back Ryan Zimmerman. One more year for Zim. He comes back. The DH makes it nice because you can have Bell at first. Zim can DH. There you go. You're good to go, Washington. Next up, the Miami Marlins. Look at that lineup. Stallings, Aguilar, Diaz, Chisholm, Rojas, Birdie, Anderson. You've got Wendell. You've got Sanchez. You've got Garcia, Cooper, De La Cruz. I don't even think I repeated a name. There's 9 spots in the lineup, and they've got like 13 or 14 guys that could fit in. So which way did they go? Is it Cooper? Is it De La Cruz? Is it Anderson? I think it comes down to a couple of guys. Brian Anderson can DH. Cooper can DH. Wendell can DH. They will be one of the teams, and there's a couple of them that we'll get to, that will use the designated hitter spot as the extra spot in the lineup for a position player that it doesn't have a spot on the field that day. So they will use it as an extra spot. I don't think they go out and get anybody. Now, there's talk that they could get Michael Conforto, and if they do that, that just enhances the likelihood that that DH spot is a revolving door for position players who otherwise wouldn't be in the lineup that day. Next up, let's go to the Phillies. The Phillies are an interesting case here. If you watch my top 100, I'm trying to stick to those predictions because the top 100, those top 10, those top 15, that's all right. I'm trying to keep things going. So with Philly, I have said I do think Philly could get Castellanos, and that is my prediction right now, Castellanos. I also think that they could be in the market for Rizzo if the Yankees don't go in that direction. I think they could be in the market for Story. I think they could be in the market for Bryant. There's a lot of different ways that I can see the Phillies approaching the rest of this free agent period. So when we talk about the DH, how are we going to go here? Now, right now, I have Camargo in there with a question mark because if you look at the depth chart, you're like, well, I mean, they don't have a DH player. Hoskins could move over there. You know, Hoskins could play first. Hoskins play outfield. Hoskins could be your DH if you go get Rizzo. If you bring Schwarber in, Schwarber and Hoskins can maybe go back and forth. There's a lot of different avenues that they could go. So what do we actually think the Phillies are going to do for DH? Give me Hoskins. If I have Hoskins as my DH, at least in this prediction, what that does is that opens up the door to sort of, quite frankly, deviate a little bit from my top 100 predictions. I can see Schwarber here. I can see Schwarber with the Phillies. My top 100 predictions, I have Schwarber going to Boston, and I don't want to change from that. I could see, again, you're going to have Castellanos come into the outfield. Maybe this is where Hasley or Moniak slide in. The Phillies will probably use that DH spot as one of those spots where you can take a position player and move them to DH. Either somebody who's already on the team and you can upgrade that position, or somebody that you are just sliding pieces around, using that DH spot as the extra hitting spot in the lineup. Let's go to Pittsburgh. You've got Tsutsugo, you've got Tucker, you've got Chavis, you've got a couple of different options for the Pittsburgh Pirates to DH. What do I think happens? This is what I want to have happen. I don't think this player wants to do this. Listen, this would just be, let's make baseball fun, right? This would be fun. Give me Andrew McCutchen as the DH. You can put him in the outfield and then move one of the outfielders to DH that day. But Andrew McCutchen, let's bring it back to Pittsburgh. At the very least, you can DH. And let's do this thing. And wait a minute. There he is. Back with the dreads. Back in a Pittsburgh uniform. Let's have Pittsburgh for McCutchen. On to the Reds next. This is one of the situations where we take a look at the lineup. I think they have their designated hitter right now on the roster. That outfield, Winker, Nyquin, Senzel. You got Aquino, Akiyama. Give me Aristides Aquino to be the designated hitter for the Cincinnati Reds. I think that makes some good sense. On to the Cubs. Couple different things the Cubs could do here. Hayward's getting older. They could slide him to DH. They just brought Clint Frazier in. You got Ortega and Happ if you want Haywood in the field. Then maybe Frazier's a DH. You also have Ramirez, who you signed right before the deadline. David Bodie can play pretty much anywhere. Maybe Nico Horner if he's getting hurt. You're worried about him being injured in the field. There's a lot of different ways they could go DH. But ultimately, I do think the Cubs have their designated hitter on the roster right now. So let's go with Clint Frazier. I think Hayward starts as your outfielder, Ortega out there in center, and Happ. There's your outfield. I think Frazier certainly slides into outfield roles, but he could be the Cubs DH to start. Also, again, if you saw my top 100 video, I thought Eddie Rosario could go to the Cubs. That could be a potential spot for Rosario to move in and DH and make sure he still gets the at-bats. Next up, the Cardinals. This is a fun one, okay? Before we get to the fun, there's a chance that Paul DeJong is the DH. Sosa could be your starting shortstop. DeJong could be the DH. I know Cardinals fans don't want that. Cardinals fans, you're done with Paul DeJong. I get that. I understand that. So let's say we have some fun with this. Let's go Albert Pujols. Pujols can be the final goodbye tour situation here. Is he an everyday DH? Is he the DH that you have all the time? No. 100 games at DH? I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the Cardinals could platoon DH between DeJong and Pujols. Whoever's hot can be the designated hitter. So I like Cardinals to get DeJong, and let's let StatMuse help us out with a Cardinals Pujols overlay there. All right, next up, the not the Padres, the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm not going to edit that out. We're going straight through. The Brewers are next up. We're still in the Central. Look at the potential DH situation. It kind of makes you... listen, Brewers fans, you'll defend Keston Hiura. He could have a bounce back. Hiura's future's probably at second base. Wong has got, I think, 1 year left on his contract. Is it Ray? Is it Brasso? Do they just kind of take that position, and again, use it like some of the other clubs could as the extra spot in the lineup to get at-bats for players that don't have a spot in the field that day. Hero Ray, Brasso could fit in there. But at the same time, the Brewers, listen, you're in a position where you can make a run for the World Series. You have pitching that is that good. If you get into a playoff series with Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, I know it didn't work out last year, but that doesn't mean it won't work out again. The lineup, you need the lineup to support it. I like Rowdy Tellez. Can you get a first baseman and move Tellez to DH? There's a lot that you could do. Is this maybe a Rizzo destination? Is this a Matt Olson trade destination? They could do a lot of things. They could be flexible with the DH, but let's say they hold on to what they've got, hold on to the prospects. Let's make their DH Nelson Cruz. He's my prediction for the Brewers in the top 100. I think he's a good fit for Milwaukee to go and get. Nelson Cruz gives them the righty pop. You hope Yelich has a bounce back with Cruz and Yelich and Renfroe. You got some nice power in that lineup. Let's move to the Diamondbacks as we finally go out west. Arizona Diamondbacks, taking a look at their lineup. Okay. The DH spot doesn't look good. And really, there's not enough depth in that lineup to move people around. Maybe this is a situation where you can have Kelly and Varsho, but Varsho's also slotted for the outfield here. So for the DH, if you watch the top 100, you saw I like Brad Miller as a fit for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's got pop. You can move him all over in the field, but he could also be the designated hitter for the Diamondbacks. Next up, it's the Colorado Rockies. Where are they going to go here? In the outfield, that's where we're going to focus. For the most part, the infield is young, good to go. You're not going to change that. But the outfield, Charlie Blackmon's getting older. You got Deaza, you got Connor Joe. Do you want to let him, those two, get more at-bats? You got Hilliard in the mix too. What do? My feeling is, let's get Charlie Blackmon to DH. The offensive numbers dropped off last year. Get him out of the field, put him at designated hitter, let him just focus on hitting. I think you can get a bounce back from Blackmon at DH. Get him out of the field, just make him a one-track player at this point. He's going to be 36 this year for the Rockies. I think he can still hit. Remember, he was flirting with 400 back in 2020, and I know we're not throwing too much stock into 2020 numbers, but in my opinion, he can still hit. And that is one case that he can still hit. So I like to see him get a DH spot. Just focus on hitting Charlie Blackmon. Next up now, here are the Padres. What are the Padres going to do just in general with this lineup? Talking about trading Hosmer. That outfield doesn't work. Jerickson Profar cannot be your everyday left fielder. Ha-Seong Kim as a DH? What are we talking about here? The Padres have work to do. And certainly there's talk of a Matt Olson trade. You could do a lot of different things if you're the Padres. If you trade Hosmer away, do you go get Anthony Rizzo? What are the things? There's so much that the Padres can still do and I think will do. But we got to work with what they have. We got to make predictions that are sound. If you watch the Top 100 video, listen, I assigned Rizzo to the Yankees. I have Castellanos with the Phillies. I have Schwarber with the Red Sox. I have already kind of assigned a lot of these players. So what are we going to do? For right now, we are going to give Ha-Seong Kim the DH opportunity, but that tells you what the Padres need to do. That the offense right now is not good enough. Now, I could be, if you're in the camp with me on Ha-Seong Kim, we haven't seen him do it yet, but you could be in favor of him and say finally he'll get his chance. Maybe he finally gets his chance. Let's move to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Here we go. Okay. This is where Dodger fans, you want to have a lot of fun. You want to say we're getting Freddie Freeman, we're going to move Max Muncy to DH. Or we're going to trade for Matt Chapman and we're going to move Justin Turner to DH. You know, right now, as it stands, Pollock is your DH. And A.J. Pollock was good last year, so you don't want to just throw him to the cold. What I do think the Dodgers are going to do, whether it is they get Freddie Freeman or they trade for Matt Chapman or they do whatever they do, I do think you'll see a situation where Turner and Muncy are your DHs in some situation because you've got Chris Taylor, You've got Trey Turner. You got Gavin Lux. You got Max Muncy. That could be your infield, and Turner's the DH. The Dodgers are one of the teams that are most professional at changing the lineup, situational, having a lot of depth to match up with the righty against the lefty and the lefty against the righty. I think that is ultimately what they will do here. So whether it's they get Freddie Freeman or trade for Matt Chapman or do whatever under the sun, I think at the end of the day, they'll use this spot as the extra at-bats for the lineup, whatever makes sense in the lineup that day, whether it's having Muncy, the lefty at DH, or Turner, the righty at DH, because in the field, you've made adjustments that, again, match up with that day's starting pitcher that you're going up against. Next up, it is the San Francisco Giants. Look at the lineup. If you look at this lineup with Belt and Ruff and Flores and Longoria and Yastrzemski and Ruff and Slater, there's a lot of options for designated hitter. Now, I think that the Giants are going to be the team that gets Seiya Suzuki. That's my prediction. I think they end up getting him. So what are we going to do for the designated hitter spot if we're losing one of those outfield positions? At the end of the day, what are the Giants going to do? It's going to be everybody. There is no shortage of designated hitter candidates in that San Francisco Giants lineup. And I think it is a revolving door between all of those different players for DH with the San Francisco Giants. Comment below. Let me know what you think about the designated hitter for your team. If you're a fan of a National League team and I talked about who you think or who I think your DH should be, who do you think your DH should be? I want you to comment below and let me know what you think. Also, repeat viewers, I've gone from sitting at the desk to standing with the green screen. Let me know what you think about the look. Comment. Please let me know. And again, smash that like if you are enjoying the content. If you want to show your support for the channel, hitting the like is one of the best ways to do that. I will add some links to some of my other content for you to check out here now. BALLCAP Nation, I salute you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for spending some time with the channel. And of course, thank you for watching my video.